It's great to be here. I'm Dr. Dave Tuck, and this is the third in the series of talks that we're doing in our Creating a Wellness Lifestyle. We're going to be doing these every month, and so thank you all for coming out. And if you've been to the first two, we're going to just kind of continue on with kind of what we've been talking about. If you haven't been here, it doesn't matter because each one is kind of a new topic. So tonight's topic is kind of interesting, I think. It's on addictions, overcoming addictions. Myself, my own personal experience, being a wellness, been a chiropractor for 22 years, been here in Whitesboro. And throughout those 22 years, I've seen a lot of different types of addictions, or what we label addictions that people have coming into the clinics. I'm sure that all of us have had some kind of experience with either yourself or someone in your life that you may be considered to have an addiction. I know myself and my family, we've had that in addictive behaviors, and so you kind of see the effects of that. I see the effects of it a lot in my patients who come in the office with certain types of addictions to certain things that affect their health. Long-term addictions can lead to health issues, and so that's what makes it kind of an addiction, is when you are doing something and over time, and it eventually leads to poor health issues or lifestyle issues. I'm going to cover just a few things that in my own, like I said, personal experience as a chiropractor and what I see. And I'm going to share with you some of my ideas and some of the things I've studied and learned. For about 16 years now, I've also been trained as what's called a DeMartini method facilitator. And I've done a lot of training and studies on the mind-body connection, on addictions and how it affects your emotional health, and different topics in that nature that have to do with emotional stresses. So I think emotional stresses are very common. How many of you in here have ever had emotional stresses? Okay, so we're all a party to having the emotional stresses. It's not that we're never going to have emotional stresses and the opportunity to have issues like that. It's just about what you do with it when you have it and the perceptions that you create. So these talks that we've been sharing have been about learning to handle different stresses in your life, changing your perceptions of your stresses, changing the way you feel about your own self and about your life, reduce your stress levels so you can help your body heal. Because, as a chiropractor of 22 years, I've seen how people that don't shift their lifestyle don't end up having the longevity and health that they say they want. So if you're desiring to have better health, and you're desiring to have longevity, and you're desiring to, as you get older, to stay young and to stay active. And I think one of the most important things for people as they get older is they want to stay mobile. You want to stay active. You want to be able to take care of yourself. I've seen people who have decided not to do healthy lifestyle choices over their life, and as you get older, that's when it really starts to affect you. There is a point to where it's too late, and you can actually lose the ability to recover from that. And so our goal of having these talks is to help educate the community on what it means to have a wellness lifestyle, what it means to create and make choices that actually, as you get older, you can actually improve your health. Because you don't have to lose your health as you get older. And I hear a lot of people say, they go to the doctor, "Docs, I'm having some pain, or I'm having my cholesterol, my blood pressure's up," and when they say, "Well, it's because of your age," okay? It already irritates me, and I'm sure it irritates patients when they hear that, because that's not an excuse. If it was an excuse, then every time we would hit a certain age, we would automatically start having these problems. But we don't. It's all about your lifestyle. If you look at your lifestyle, it's all about your emotions, okay? If you're having emotional stresses, you're going to choose certain lifestyle choices that can either be positive or negative to your health. And so, what do you say we all learn how to make better choices and improve our health? Habits versus addictions, because there's a difference, okay? And let's take a look and see what the differences are as I've been researching these two. Habits, you have control over them. You can stop them. You choose to have your habits, okay? It's a choice you can have. You don't have a fear of losing your habit, okay? It's not something that you fear when you're doing it, that it's going to go away. And you feel empowered by them, and they can either be positive or negative habits. Whereas addictions, if we look at the addictions, you actually start losing control over. You have no more control with them. It controls you. You can't stop. It becomes a have to, got to, and a need to, and you fear the loss of it if you can't have it. And it's a disempowered state, okay? When you are being controlled by something, you have no power over it, you actually are losing your power, and it's disempowering. Long-term negative effects that come out of long-term addictions. How many of you here have ever had anything that you might label as an addiction? When we look at addictions, actually let's go back here. Addictions support our values, it makes us feel good, and gives us pleasure. This is why we tend to run toward them in the beginning. Most addictions start actually as habits. So you may start to do something out of a habit because you're trying to get a result, trying to get to feel better, you're trying to accomplish something, and then it becomes something that takes over your life, okay? And you start to have these types of thoughts around it. And I know our last talk we talked about different ways of thinking where you're living in the have-tos, got-tos, shoulds, and where you need to do something. And those are unempowered, uninspiring states of living, okay? When you're living your life in those states where you've got to, have to, should do, and you're living daily in that mode, that really can wear you down, okay? It's disempowering you, okay? And it creates health issues at that point. So let's take a look and see what some of the addictions are. There's so many, but a few of them are addictions to food. I see that a lot in the office. Smoking, alcohol, sex, pornography, Facebook, TV, painkillers, pot, drugs, different kind of drugs, all kinds, caffeine, gambling, exercise, music, working can be addiction, and also a big one is addiction to other people. Any of these resonate with anyone? Anyone know, even if you don't have it, someone that has had these kind of things? Are there any more that we can add to this list that you might think, wow, there's other things I might have addictions to? And again, if you go back to this page here and we think about what are some things that you feel you have to do or you can't stop doing it, you must do it, you need to do it, and if you can't do it, you kind of get nervous about it and you fear the loss of it. Can't stop it, it's actually controlling you. One of the most common ones I see in the clinic is food. People get addicted to food. They come in the office, they're having health issues. And I think one of the signs of an addiction is you get to the point where you know that this addiction is affecting your health and you know it's negatively affecting your entire life, but yet you can't stop. And you consciously tell yourself, wow, I need to quit doing this. I really should quit doing these kind of things. But yet you can't because it is in control of you. And you fear what would happen if you don't do these things. Does that understand what I'm saying? And so can you see how that is really a disempowered state to where now you've given up your control to something else? And if this is a person we're talking about, if you've given up control over someone else and they're running your life, I know in my life I've been in relationships where I've felt I was addicted to a person. And man, they ran your life because you can't stop thinking about them. You wake up and you want to know what they're doing, and they're kind of controlling your life, and so to speak, because they're on your mind. What do you do when you have something that you want to control? Is you just want to hang on to it. You don't want to let it go because you're afraid it may not come back, right? And so these are the addictive behaviors that I think people get when you're in a relationship, or when you're with food, or with smoking, or with sex, or with drugs, is that you get to that point to where it's like, I can't function without this any longer. You get to the point where you used to function without it, and then all of a sudden you feel that without it, or with it, you function on a better level. It takes you to a place to where you feel you can't get to without it. If you're having emotional stresses, and you take a drug, or have a drink, or have a pill to hide the emotional stresses, what happens when it wears off? It's still there. It doesn't go away because you haven't actually dealt with the issues. It is kind of a false sense of security for that short time. And so what happens is you're running from pain, trying to get pleasure is what you're actually doing with these addictions, even in food. A lot of people come in and they're addicted to sugars or caffeine or these comfort foods. And my question is, so why are you uncomfortable? Why do you need to have comfort food? What that means is you must be uncomfortable in your life somehow. So what's the underlying reason behind that? And getting to that underlying reason to where you can find out, well, we call it a subdiction. What is the subdiction which is driving you to need to have comfort food? Or the need to have a drug to make you get to a place where you don't think you can get without it? Because it's not really true, because the drug even though you think it gets you a place where you're not, and you may think that, wow, I can have ideas or I can feel in a relaxed state, it's not the drug that gets you there. You can get there all by yourself. You just think the drug is doing it for you. One of my favorite quotes from Ram Dass is, if you're already in Detroit, you don't have to take a bus to get there. Meaning, if you're already in the space, if you're already in the place, why do you need something to get you there? Because you're already there. So the reality is we're already all there. We just don't realize it because of our perceptions of the stresses that we have. So the key is to identify the underlying issues that are around your addictions and around the things that your habits that you've created and now become out of control. I see this a lot in the clinic. People come in the office, they're on 5, 6 painkillers. And you can't get off those things sometimes because they become addictive. So treating pain with an addictive drug to me is nuts, because now you're just going to create another issue going on. It hides the fact that you have pain, but now you've got a different kind of pain. You've got emotional pain, because now you're being controlled by something and you can't function without it. And to me, I have a high value on having freedom and having choices, being able to do things, okay? And if you're addicted to this one thing, then it really limits your ability to enjoy your life, because now you can't do anything without this drug or without this person. And so that shrinks your life down, and I think it makes you disempowered. And I think we're all here to be empowered. We're all here for a purpose and to function and have an enjoyable life. And so when you have something that's tied to you, it's kind of like you carrying a weight around all the time that you can't function without it, and it can weigh you down. And so sooner or later, that addiction, let's say it's painkillers, now you have to, what do they do when someone's all of a sudden on painkillers? They put you on something else to bring you up. Now you're down, let's bring you something to bring you down, to bring you up. And so it's a never-ending drug overdose, I think, for people. And so the key is getting down to the underlying reason why this started in the first place. And that's, I think, what's missing in the treatments for people that do have these kind of addictions, that do have these patterns of behavior that they can't change, because no one's really getting to the root of the problem. Now, if you look at what's out there as far as treatments go, when someone has some kind of addiction, well, you put them in an institution. They put them on antipsychotic drugs sometimes. They go to AA. Now, AA, if I did the research, it's a 5 to 10% success rate. So, and why is that? Because they're not getting down to the root of the reason why you have it in the first place. Why are you so uncomfortable? What is causing you to have stress? Because if you go to a doc, say, Doc, I have anxiety, I have stress, what does he do? Here, take this pill, it helps with anxiety. Doc, I feel like I'm getting angry a lot. Here, take this pill, it'll calm you down. Doc, I feel bored, I feel anxious, I feel bored, I feel depressed. Good, take this, it'll lift you up. This is a common theme. And so now you've just got put on a drug it's addictive only because it gives you the feeling that you're looking for, but it's artificial. You don't need to go outside of yourself to find that feeling, because it's already there. You just haven't accessed it. Maybe it's been years since you felt it, but you weren't born like that. You haven't lived all your life. You weren't born depressed. You weren't born with having this anxiety and these issues. Somewhere along the line, it was created through your experiences, through something that's happened in your life. There's some event or some person that has caused these emotional stresses, and your perception of the stresses has created the emotional state you're in. Boom, here we go. So let's talk about this. This zone here, we're going to call a habit. This is where you can control things. So you might start a habit, and habits are something that you have control over. So in this range, you can kind of control them. You've got all the power over that. But it's when you get outside of here, okay, this becomes more of the addiction. For now, you don't have any control over it. Coffee's one. Yeah, caffeine. You got to have it because you can't get up without it. And so when you have the artificial things stimulate you, then again, yeah, that can be addictive because it gives you a pleasure that you're looking for. Anything that gives you a result that you're looking for, and you don't think you can get it another way, you're going to obviously go for that. And so then what happens is you get out here and you create that pattern where now I cannot get there without it any longer. Okay, I can't get to this state of feeling relaxed or feeling up without this artificial thing. When it gets out here, it's no longer in control. You can't control it any longer. You have to have it. If you don't have it, you fear the loss of that. If you don't have it, you tend to get depressed and think, oh, and you start having anxiety over losing the thing that you are addicted to. Like a person, for instance, like we talked about. If you're in a relationship and you're afraid of this person leaving you because you're addicted to them, that causes anxiety because you don't think you can live without them. One of the tests that I've been researching is if you can go 7 days without something, then it's probably a habit, and it's not going to be an addiction. Addiction is what they've shown is if you can't go 7 days without it, then you're probably having an addiction about it, okay? Such as food, such as sugars, okay? Sugar is the most common one I see because it's a comfort food, because you feel better when you have it. So if you have a stressful life and you don't know how to deal with your stresses, then you're going to try to do things that are going to make you feel better. Food's the most common thing. Sugars, comfort foods, breads, those kind of things that make you feel better. But the downside of that is now those comfort foods create physical issues in your body like weight gain, poor digestion, which creates more stress on your life. I had a guy a couple months ago come in. He was drinking 30 beers a day. Every day. Every day. He was drinking 30 beers every day. And he was having some health issues from it, believe it or not. Really? He was not. Yeah, health issues. A lot of weight gain. That's what it does, a lot of weight gain. So we went through this process that I'm kind of going to mention to you tonight, this addiction resolution process from Dr. DeMartini. We went through that a little bit in the office, and we found out the issues that were going on with him and why he was being driven to drink like that. And then we found other ways he could get the same result. And so what happened is he started shifting these things. And now, it's been about 2 months, he hasn't drank beer in 2 months. He's lost about 30 pounds. We did a detox program on him, put him on a detox. How old is he? He is about 35, I believe. Maybe, no, he's about 32, more early 30s. You know, your physiology is going to tell you when you're out of overload, okay? And you know it. I mean, people, when you're eating or drinking or smoking or doing something you know is not good for your body, your intuition is telling you. You just may not be listening to it because the result you're getting out of that is way more important right now than the long-term effects because you haven't figured out a better strategy yet. But sooner or later, one of the signs of a long-term addiction is health issues. Health starts deteriorating down. Because at first, when you first start your, say, habit, let's say take smoking, for instance, okay? Let's say you first start smoking, you do it because it gives you a little bit of relaxation, right? But after a while, it shifts into this area where now all of a sudden, instead of 1 or 2 a day, now you're doing 5 or 6 a day, 7 or 8 a day. And now, because you haven't actually fixed the reason why you're stressed in the first place, it becomes more and more and more. And your physiology is going to keep giving you more and more symptoms to try to help you deal with the issue. See, our physiology is amazing. It tries to teach us to get back to center, get back to loving ourselves, loving our life, having a purpose, and being inspired. So your physiology, when it gives you symptoms, it's just trying to tell you that there's something about your life that you're not loving. So when you ignore that and then take on the artificial, the outside stimulant or the downer or the upper or whatever it is to make you feel better temporarily, you're ignoring your physiology. And what happens is your body, because it's so intelligent, will give you more and more symptoms that are worse. Instead of having maybe, a little bit of anxiety, depression, a little anxiety or stress, now all of a sudden your blood pressure may start going up. Now, guess what? You had a heart attack now. But but medical, they just treat that with drugs again, okay? Instead of treating the underlying issue.